Greetings, survival horror fans. EQA Nostalgia here, and today I want to talk to you guys about some rumors going around about a Resident Evil TV show coming to Netflix. Now, if you're a hardcore Resident Evil fan, or if you've just been paying attention, you're used to rumors. You've heard many rumors over the years, and most of them have not come true. One of which I covered here on the channel pertaining to Outbreak. I'm still hopeful that they're going to be bringing that series back, but it was a really embarrassing point in the lifespan of my channel. But I gotta be really careful here. This is a rumor. But still, I'm really excited to talk about this with you guys, and I hope that it's legit. First thing that gives me hope here is that Resident Evil has had a huge push. Capcom has been pushing it not just for the 20th anniversary, which has passed us by, but they've been doing this for a couple of years now. If you take a look at the HD remake of Zero and Remake, and then you take a look at what they're doing with, well, Umbrella Corps, they released that. Obviously that was a pile of shit, but they still brought that out. They tried to get that that action shooter. It's like they gave up halfway in development. They're like, oh hey, let's go for the Counter-Strike crowd. Oh, this isn't really working out, is it? Well, let's just finish it and get it out there. Resident Evil 7 will be the saving grace. So you can see they've made a lot of pushes. You've got Vendetta coming up. They just wrapped the film franchise. Thankfully, the abomination that Paul W.S. Anderson wrought upon the series, that has been put to bed. So that's gone. That's over with. That gives me another reason to think that they're ready to move on with the story and try something different. Now, a lot of people speculated that they're going to be making a movie now that Paul has his grubby hands off of it, and hopefully it would be closer to what Resident Evil actually is. I speculated about this, many people have, but a TV show makes a lot of sense. Now, I gotta stop myself because I started talking about how they're gonna write this, how it's going to work. That's something I want to save towards the end of the video. I want to talk about speculation, what I think the story is going to be, and how they're going to carry it along towards the end of the video. Right now, I want to keep it grounded on why I think there's a possibility that this could happen. Another thing that gives me faith in this is the fact that Netflix has been really aggressive with the shows that they're bringing out. They're bringing out shows that you wouldn't think would work. Like, when I heard about Daredevil, I was thinking, I don't know, man. I don't know if that's really going to work as a TV show, but I'll be damned, it came out and it worked, and now it's leading to The Punisher, and that's going to be fantastic as well. And Netflix has really done a great job at making TV shows that feel like movies. When I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, and I know it's not just Netflix doing this, it's the times that we live in. It's something that has progressively been happening. But in the 80s and 90s, if you watched a TV show, you just accepted that it was lower quality, it wasn't as good as going to a movie. Now it's getting harder and harder to tell because the production values are through the roof. Now, if you take a look at how aggressive they've been with their marketing and how they're trying to go for things, they're going for that Marvel group, they're going for other groups, they're going for all sorts of like the casual moms, like the soccer moms. They've got the demographics. They take a look at this. They've got marketing teams that say, hey, how do we pull in these people? How do we pull in that people? There is no way they're not looking at something like The Walking Dead and saying, how do we pull in those people? And yeah, The Walking Dead, it's nothing like Resident Evil aside from there happening to be zombies there, right? It's really not that similar. Resident Evil is about an evil corporation, bioweapons, bioterrorism. It's not just about zombies. But at the start, it very much is focused on zombies. It feels very much like a classic Romero film or something like that. That's how the original Resident Evils felt. And then they start to bring in, as the game goes along, you know, as the series has gone along, they bring in crazier and crazier mutated bioweapons and crazier stories. But I think with the first series, they can really nail that zombie vibe and pull in those zombie fans. I think it's something that they're looking to do. Plus, obviously, the video game demographics is nothing to sneeze at. There is a huge amount of money there for our demographic, and they know this. They're not stupid. So just to summarize, let's break down the math here. And I know this sounds a lot like my Outbreak videos because that's exactly what I did with Outbreak. That's what I do, guys. I look at stuff, I break them down. Does it make sense mathematically? Well, yeah, it does. This show makes sense. If you look at the math, if you take a look at what Netflix is doing right now, how aggressive they are, the crazy shows you wouldn't expect them to make that they're making. If you take a look at what's going on with Capcom and Resident Evil and the push that they're making for that, if you take a look at the film franchise for Resident Evil, that just got out of the way, it's no longer tying that live action scene up, it makes sense. But it doesn't matter if it's just bullshit, right? It doesn't matter how much sense it makes. It doesn't matter how much the math adds up. If it's bullshit, it's just bullshit, and that's a lesson that we learned with Resident Evil Outbreak. There were a lot of things pointing towards Outbreak that made sense mathematically. You had this indie developer that was in the right position. They were working on a spiritual successor to Outbreak. It made sense. There are many other things. I'm not going to go through it. I'm not going to... Just a lot of you probably don't care about that. But the math was there. But it didn't matter because it was bullshit. The same thing can happen with this. So if I sound like I'm being negative, you'll have to forgive me. I'm just being really cautious. You have to keep in mind my history here and the way things have unfolded with this series. But I do have hopes for this. And now I want to talk about the script and how I think that this could make sense. Because some people are probably thinking about this and going, wait a minute, huh? How the hell are you going to take Resident Evil and make it into several seasons with like anywhere between 10 to 20 episodes per season? Well, they can do that, and there's plenty of source material for that, and I'm going to break it down right now. If I was Netflix, I would start with Resident Evil 1. That sounds like a no-brainer, but let's not forget about Resident Evil 0. And I know there's a lot of people who are probably going to think, well, start off with Resident Evil 0, and then about halfway through the season, you can kick off with Resident Evil 1, and then in Season 2, you can just start with 2. Season 3 can be Resident Evil 3. I don't think they should do it exactly like that. I think that Resident Evil 1 should take up the first season, and then 2 should be 2, 3 should be 3, and then Season 4, they should go back to 0. And this might not make a lot of sense to people, but this is the way that I would like to see it happen. Because if you remember when 0 first came out, there was some mystery there for a while about exactly what happened to Bravo Team. Yeah, we ran into Enrico and Rebecca, we got to know these characters, but we didn't get to see everything. We didn't know anything about Billy Cohen. We didn't know anything about that facility. All of these things that were revealed to us in 0, we had no idea. So there was a certain amount of hype. When that game was announced, people were thinking, oh shit, we finally get to see exactly what happened, the roots of Resident Evil. How did this, what really caused this exactly? I mean, yeah, we knew how it happened, but we didn't really get to see it and play all of it. So I think that would be just as effective with a TV show if a few years later, you're like, oh, hey, now we're going to explain exactly what went down here. Obviously, for the hardcore fans, they're already going to know exactly all of the storyline, but that doesn't matter. Seeing it unfold on the screen, and they can throw things in there, just like The Walking Dead switches things up from the comic book that switched things up. As long as they don't go too crazy, they don't go blasphemous and kill off main characters in weird ways, they can throw little plot twists and things in there that kind of throw people off. But keep it along the same lines. It needs to tell the same stories. So I think 0 needs to come later. Now, in Season 1, let's keep this in Season 1. I keep getting too far ahead of myself. I want it to be very dark, very slow and methodical. You know those movies where you watch where it seems like they're going to deliver a jump scare, but they don't? They just fuck with you for hours on end, and then it seems like hours on end, and then they scare the shit out of you finally a few times. But most of it, they don't really deliver. They just leave you hanging on the edge. That's what I want to see for the first one. And then in the second season, they need to just blow shit up and go crazy with tons of extras, zombies everywhere, way more action oriented, a lot more happening in that regard. There should still be those moments of creepiness. I mean, when you're running around the RPD, obviously it's still got that isolated feeling. But we're going to be going into the city now. This shit's starting to spread, so it needs to get crazy. Maybe it shouldn't be full-blown crazy, but we should really start to see this thing spreading, you know, that whole scene with the trucker and everything. You see how the city starts to fall apart real quick. It seemed like it was just like, and all of a sudden, boom, it's too late to get out of Raccoon. Everybody's gonna fucking die. If you're here, good luck. We wish you the best of luck. So 2 should really start to get that ominous feeling, oh shit, things have hit the fan, it's really starting to kick off. And then with 3 should be where they go full blown, oh fuck, now we're screwed. So I think it makes more sense with Season 2 to tie in Resident Evil 2 and 3 into one season, but I think that if they wanted to stretch it out, they could. They can make 3 its own thing. But tying the 2 together, that's where I would do it if they had to tie anything together. I wouldn't tie 0 and 1 together. I'd tie 2 and 3 together. Now, in terms of Outbreak, I would like to see some of the characters. I don't think that Outbreak could do its own thing. I mean, I think that it could, but I don't think that it should. I think the focus should really be on the main story here. But that's not to say I don't want to see David walking through a bar, you know. Obviously, that's David. You can tell he's got his ponytail. He's got the same janitorial outfit on. He pats someone on the back and walks out of Jay's bar. Has like a 10-second cameo. That kind of thing, I would love to see that. Jim down in the subway station. You can tell it's him. You know it's him. Something like that. That's what I'd like to see with Outbreak. Don't completely throw it aside. I want to see Alyssa running around trying to cover the story when things are breaking out. I want to see those characters. And they should be characters that, if you don't know the series, you don't recognize them. But if you don't recognize them, that's okay, because you're not lost. It's just something that's a nod to the fans. I think that Code Veronica and Resident Evil 4 would do well to be represented. But Resident Evil 5 and 6, I think they could do it. I think that it would be fun to watch, a lot more fun to watch than it was to play. I know I'm going to piss off some fans with that. Those were not my favorite games. But I don't know. Maybe they could do their own thing and kind of avoid that. Who knows? Maybe they could just tell the story of Revelations. Maybe they can start telling a story that we didn't hear about. Who knows at that point? But shows like this, they typically run 5 to 7 years, somewhere around there. I don't think this one will last 7 years. I think it'll be something that is going to run for 4 to 5 seasons, somewhere around there. And then that's going to be good enough to wrap it up. I'll be satisfied with that. As long as they do justice to Resident Evil 1 through 3, I think that's what really matters to me the most. You know, I would like to see Code Veronica, I would like to see all of those things. But the first 3 is really what I wanted to see in movie form when Paul W.S. Anderson started fucking all of that up. I was so disappointed that they didn't go into the mansion. They didn't show Chris and Jill. They didn't have the main story. And his reason for that was because, oh, people had already played it. They don't want to see it. That's bullshit. That's exactly what fans wanted to see. We wanted to see the story on the silver screen. Well, hopefully we get that opportunity with Netflix. Like I said, we don't know if this is going to happen, but I have every faith in the writers at Netflix to make it happen, because you take a look at shows, and I know I'm repeating myself, they look like they wouldn't work, but they work. They're really good at the way that they handle source material and the way that they handle the writing. I have confidence in the writers over at Netflix to handle this. But yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. At this point, I want to kick it over to you guys right now. Let me know what you think about this down in the comment section below. Do you think these are just vicious rumors to get Resident Evil fans fired up once again? Or do you think they're legit? Do you want to see something like this happen? Do you think they should just stop at the live action shit and go full CG? Let me know in the comment section below, guys. I thank you all for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all in my next video.